Hello and welcome to STARCAST from Planet Waves. I'm Eric Francis Coppolino, your astrologer here with the edition for February 1st, 2024, accompanying the monthly Planet Waves horoscope for February. Finally, a new horoscope column out. Thank you for those who have patiently awaited. We've run quite a few excerpts from somewhere in between during the month of January, and that has just been a matter of practicality. There's only so much that one person can write, and anyway, I am back with a new horoscope and a new article covering the beginning phase of Pluto in Aquarius here, and I'll tell you a little bit about that chart and what I'm seeing in it, and that kind of series of charts actually that starts to take effect around mid-February, somewhat around the time of the new moon on the 9th. First, a bit about the moment that we are in, just to tune you in. We all of us now are at Imbolc, approximately the cross quarter, the midpoint of the winter season in the northern hemisphere and the summer season in the southern hemisphere. Funny how that works, isn't it? And basically, how do I say this? All right, so you may be familiar with the equinoxes and the solstices. The equinoxes and the solstices are when the sun forms a 90-degree angle to one of the tropics. That the tropics include the Tropic of Capricorn, Tropic of Cancer, and the equator. And then there are moments in between when we reach the midpoint between an equinox and a solstice, or vice versa. And right now, on February 1st, that's what Groundhog Day is. We are midway between the southern solstice, that would be the winter solstice here in the northern hemisphere, and the vernal equinox. And when you get at the midpoint, then there's something called a cross quarter day. These are important holidays, or they are focal points of holidays. For example, things that hover around the cross quarter day here are Groundhog Day, and then there is also Valentine's Day. That's kind of the big one. There's a few others, and they tend to be concentrations of civil holidays around a natural event. This is a holdover from more traditional times, and most people have forgotten that there is this beautiful natural symmetry working in the background. And so that's where we are right now. And so this is the balancing point, the tipping point between two seasons. It happens with the sun in Aquarius. That is a fixed sign, and the cross quarters always happen in a fixed sign, and they represent the most stable part of the season. Another example of a cross-quarter day is Beltane. That happens in the first week of May. And then another is Lammas or Lunessa. Most people don't know about that. That's the first harvest or second planting festival. It's the first of the harvest festivals that then run for about 90 days through Samhain, which is written Samhain. I really wish it was looked differently on the printed page, but Samhain, which became Halloween in our calendars. So we are kind of crawling around on the ruins of the Celts and the Druids. Modern day revival Wiccanism pays attention to all of this stuff and has rituals and festivals. And personally, I find it to be a great deal of fun to understand the kind of natural calendar hanging out behind this artifice of the civil calendar with its 29-day months and leap years, a 28-day month, and its 30 days. It's all kind of all over the place, and the days of the week never really line up with the dates. Anyway, so here we are at the cross quarter, and that basically means that the season will now begin to slip into the next one. One last thing, for those of us in the north, the northern hemisphere, a rather different hemisphere than the southern hemisphere, Imbolc, the whole thing is based on northern hemisphere observations, because the everything from Greece to Egypt to England and Ireland and all the places where these things were being cooked up, and in Iran and this all northern hemisphere places. But the word imbulk means in the milk, and the milk is the milk of the stars and the milk of the darkness of the very long nights. In the Catholic tradition, this holiday was transformed into something called Candlemas. Everything's a mass for the Catholics. They want you to come to mass. And the idea was that you would count up the number of candles you had in store, and if you had enough candles left, you would light a candle in every window and illuminate your house during the darkest time of winter. I'm sure some of that tradition gets retrofitted to Christmas lights, which are very bulky and candle-mossy, lighting up the windows. All right, anyway, with that warm-up introduction here, very early in the morning in the Astrology Chalet in Rosendale, New York. This is probably my last project here. I'm heading out in the morning. Let's consider the rest of the chart. So at this moment, on the first, probably about 12 hours ahead of you hearing this, the moon is in late Libra. The moon's been through kind of a turbulent patch over the past 24 hours. Not sure if anyone noticed it, but the moon made a square to Mars, and overnight, and a square to Mercury, and an opposition to Eris, and ahead of that, earlier in the week, it made an opposition to Chiron. So, not sure how you've been doing emotionally. Libra moon can be pretty stable and buoyant, and these square lunar aspects don't always cause turbulence or relate to turbulence, but sometimes they do, and I imagine with this Libra moon looking at a potentially fruitful, creative time. So let's see when the moon enters Scorpio. That's what it does. So since I'm recording well ahead of distribution time, the moon entered Scorpio 3:37 p.m. Eastern Time on the 1st. And of course, now when the moon enters a fixed sign, it's going to make an aspect to Pluto. So the first thing that the moon does when it enters Scorpio is it immediately, over the course of the next hour, makes a square to Pluto. And then it reaches tomorrow a square to the sun. And so that is last quarter approaching the Lunar New Year on the 9th. We'll come back to that. Okay, so the moon in a fixed sign, Scorpio, is also talking to Jupiter in a fixed sign, in addition to Pluto, and also to Uranus in a fixed sign. So we get, anyway, an exciting couple of days of the moon, with the moon in Scorpio, again, trine Saturn, opposing Jupiter, square the sun, and opposite Uranus, trine Neptune. That's a busy moon for a few days. So keep yourself engaged and, do your train spotting. Make sure you get on the right train. Now, there was one thing before I get into the new moon chart. Right now, we are in a Jupiter-Saturn sextile. Jupiter and Saturn, the two most massive planets, with approximately 200 natural satellites among them, two little mini solar systems that orbit our sun, are in a 60-degree aspect. For those of you new to astrology, or perhaps advanced in astrology, the 60-degree aspect is a stable, useful, helpful aspect. And when you put Jupiter and Saturn in a sextile, which does not happen very often, it happens. I don't know off the top of my head every how many years, but it is going to be many years before we get this again. There's a kind of a natural force holding things together. That natural force is in effect now. Appreciate it while you have it. Take the chance to make the changes that you need to make now. As the spring unfolds, and it will be a very interesting spring, as it does unfold, Jupiter moves out of the sextile with Saturn and into a conjunction with Uranus. That is somewhat of the opposite energy. So we move from this holding steady phase into a kind of unpredictable and high action phase, and this takes place through the month of April. We're a little bit ahead of ourselves. Okay, so let's go to the, hopefully I haven't gone on too long to lose your interest here. The chart I used for the monthly horoscope is the chart for the Aquarius new moon about 1 week from now, Feb 9, 2024. It's at 5:58 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's about a minute before 6 o'clock on February the 9th. The day of the week of February 9th is a Friday, so 1 week from tomorrow. And this is a chart that is kind of spring-loaded. For one thing, it is the Lunar New Year, so it is the new year for much of the world. I don't know about most of the world. I would maybe say, it could be at least half the world. Pretty much all of Asia. That's a large place. In fact, it's many, many, many large places. India, I think they do their own thing. But everything that's ever been influenced by China or Buddhism celebrates the Lunar New Year on the 9th of February. All right, and so this is a conjunction of the moon and the sun, and it is conjunct an asteroid, and the asteroid is Icarus, a dependable one. Icarus is about peak experiences, and so we get a commencement of the Year of the Dragon with a symbol included in there, encrypted in there, about peak experiences, like liking your sugar sweet, or why just climb Killington when you can climb up K2 or something like that. So genuinely peak experiences. And Mercury is in Aquarius for this as well, and that Mercury is the caution to know when you don't know. This is very challenging. I've been talking about this on Planet Waves FM and sorting out this whole concept of epistemology and how do you know when you know when how do you know when you don't know? It's a tricky question for humans who tend to make a lot of assumptions. Okay, now the thing about this chart, apart from the fact that it's the Lunar New Year, is that if you look, you'll see, I'll put a scan of the chart in on the lower right, kind of halfway between the lower right and the far right, i.e. the fifth house. There are a group of quick-moving planets that are about to make a conjunction to Pluto. Now, Mercury has already made the conjunction to Pluto. I've got this included in the article. That'll be followed by Mars. That'll be followed by Venus. All of this through mid-February. And so what you have there is the inner planets coming along and one by one making a conjunction to Pluto, which looks initiatory to me. We've seen this before, but we haven't seen it with Pluto in Aquarius. And so what we have is this new, somewhat abstract, remote energy of Pluto in Aquarius, where it has not, except for a couple of weeks last year, it hasn't been there since Benjamin Franklin was installing lightning rods on things. And when inner planets, close by, local planets associated with human thought, human feeling, human action, desire, choice, and values, and that mainly are Venus, Mars, and Mercury, one by one make a conjunction to Pluto. That is going to bring the Pluto in Aquarius effect closer to us. So we will get a different feeling for a new feeling for what Pluto in Aquarius is about. This is a bigger change than nearly anyone recognize. It is a change in the entire background of reality. It's going to come with many events specific to this astrology, as Pluto in Capricorn came with many events specific to everything in the Capricorn structure, that being banking and government and insurance and things like that. And we're going to be cleaning up the mess of Pluto in Capricorn for quite a long time. Aquarius is more accustomed to tearing everything down and rebuilding it in 5 minutes if you have the budget, or maybe even 5 years if you have the budget. But Capricorn has represented the physical world, and now with Pluto in Aquarius, we're more decidedly in the kind of property of evolution and growth and soul has more distinctly moved into the digital realm. And so I think we are going to have a lot of revelatory experiences. We're going to start to find out where we are here in the digital realm, and what a delicate bubble it is that we are floating on. And as we determine how interested we are in preserving our humanity, it really is that simple. That this is the choice, this is the question that we have, is how interested are we in being human now that being human is essentially up for grabs, because there are so many ways that we're having essentially our humanity either kind of washed out from under us or sold out from under us. And the thing is, this is all going on with technology being something solidly represented by Aquarius, and the history of the human race is that it never is really paying attention to what is happening when these technological advances come upon us. It's just always some new, interesting, fascinating thing, some bright, shiny object. Now we're up to the next iPhone and the next Android and the next Note and the next whatever. And there's never really the serious question asked: where are we? Where are we going? And what are we doing? Please pardon my froggy voice. It's still quite early, and I'm not really warmed up. Okay, I think that is most of what I have to say. I have written about this chart thematically and astrologically in an essay that comes with the monthly horoscope. And the monthly horoscope is based entirely on the astrology of this chart. The weekly resumes next week, and I plan to stay on schedule. I want to thank you for making Somewhere in Between a tremendous success. It has been the most successful annual in a good few years. I'm happy to see that people are taking an interest in themselves. My astrology is never really about itself. My astrology is always about you. And that is the value, is that it is a tool, a key to understanding and opening up your inquiry, refreshing your inquiry, or initiating your inquiry into the nature of your own existence. In about a week, at the new year, we'll be introducing the Eye of the Centaur, the 2024 spring reading, which will focus on Chiron. Look for an announcement about that. And I'm planning to have new Planet Waves FM on its seemingly new night, which is Sunday nights. All right, once again, signing off from the Astrology Chalet in Rosendale, New York. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for your business and your trust. Bye for now.